Hi, this is Sujoy. Welcome to today's webinar. Just wanted to check if I'm audible, loud and clear. If you can hear me, uh, just awesome. Great. Great. So I'll just start with a short background on myself. I currently head digital marketing globally for InMobi. InMobi is one of the world's largest mobile marketing platforms, where we compete in the space with companies like Google and Facebook. And prior to InMobi, I worked at Flipkart, and I have a total of about 10 years of experience, a large amount of which is in the digital marketing space. And before starting my career in this space, I graduated with an MBA from IIMK. So uh, that's great. If we can just take let's take 2 minutes, and I'd love to know more about you, and in one line, why does email and mobile and digital marketing in general interest you? If you can just type that in one sentence, it will set great context for the rest of the webinar. I'll just take I'll pause for 2 minutes now. Pause for a minute. So yeah, so if you can just send in a line about why the digital space, digital marketing, email marketing, and mobile marketing as well, why does it interest you? Um, awesome. We've Thanks for sharing. We've received quite a lot of interesting responses. Um, Great, thanks. That helps set context. Uh, we will start off now. Right? So, email marketing has been a traditional digital marketing channel, which has been used for decades now. Right? Surprisingly, it still remains one of the most popular as well as most powerful channels that marketers have at their disposal today. Right? Because and obviously it's evolved to take on different characteristics, but it remains very popular for marketers to be able to reach, engage, and convert customers. Uh, so this is relevant to you if, number one, you're a marketer who is looking for innovative ways or looking to understand how consumers behave on email and how you can use email uh, to drive more powerful marketing. Or it could also help you if you are in another corporate function but are still looking to understand and go a little deeper into this area, because this is something that will help in learning as well. Um, in addition to email, what the way email has evolved is email has become largely mobile. When I say that, I mean most users of email, and often you experience this in the way you use email, you yourself use email, is most users of email are using the medium on their mobile devices, right? So on their mobile phones it changes, and that creates a lot of that makes a big difference in how marketers approach and run all of their efforts, right? So in this webinar, we will cover a bunch of topics which you see right from the fundamentals of what email marketing is about, what are the building blocks, to how you can go about doing it, right from creating a mailing list to creating those emailers without professional effort, in terms of without getting a designer or without getting professionals uh, to create, for example, your HTML template. Right? Once that is done, how can you think of and how can you go ahead and build content that works? What kind of content do users love? As well as once you're up and running, how do you keep at it and ensure that you're successful? Right. So we'll also do a Q&A towards the end, with a few minutes at the end, and we'll be happy to take your questions then. Right? Um, and this is something which we had touched upon at the start, but email inboxes is something that everybody uses, right? Many people might not be on Facebook, might not be on Twitter, might not uh, have apps installed, but you know for sure most people who are online are checking email, right? So email marketing continues to be the most cost effective way to reach consumers in a place they visit most, their inbox. Cost effective because this is not a medium that is paid largely, right? So there are costs associated with setting up and with running your infrastructure and running your team, but this is unlike creating a digital ad or running a Facebook advertising campaign or running anything else. This is largely a medium that doesn't have cost associated with it, which makes it more attractive, but also makes it a little more dangerous because then this is a space which is very, very crowded because to everybody is trying to do the same things. Interestingly, email in a study by McKinsey in 2014 was found to be 40 times more effective than Facebook and Twitter combined in helping businesses acquire new customers, right? And that's huge, and that's huge, and which is why you'll find every e-commerce company, if you see, so any e-commerce company, any hyper local company, uh, etc., are on email marketing and are active email marketers, right? You see discount coupons being sent through email, you see newsletters with listings of new products being sent through email, etc. And to follow through, 66% of consumers in another study, have been found to have made purchases as a result of email marketing message. So that email converts, and it converts very well if used carefully, and that's what I will uh, hope to help you learn. All right. Uh, how does email, and we saw some stats of how email compares to other channels in terms of conversions as well as in terms of ROI, right? So return on investment. Uh, but what essentially differentiates it in terms of user behavior? Right? So, and as a marketer, how is it different when you look at any other channel versus email? So, I think the biggest block, which is the center block, is given the nature of the medium, given that you email marketing reaches users in their inboxes, which is largely a personal space. Right? So in your inbox, you have email marketing messages, but you've also got emails from friends, you've got emails from your workplace, possibly, right? And it helps create and maintain relationships over time. So if as an email marketer who is sending regular messages or regular emailers to users and or consumers, and when those consumers find this useful, so if you're sending discount codes every week, or imagine you are a food ordering service and you have a daily update of what is the menu for the day or what is the menu for the week, and if consumers are finding it useful, this is something that enough data shows that it's effective. If consumers find it useful, then they start expecting your mail, and you start performing, right? Also, you'll see the sentence there also says prospects that have given you permission to contact them, and that again is a very critical point, which goes down to ensuring that anybody who you email is opted in. It's a complete no-no to harvest email IDs, and we'll get into this later in what are the ways you can build out your mailing list. But essentially anybody who is on your list needs to have given permission. Right? If you mail users who don't know that they're going to be emailed, or who have not given permission to be emailed, it actually has a negative effect, right? So you get flagged for spam, you'll get unsubscribes, and it has a lot of other effects as well, which we'll go into. The second block here is, as a marketer, you're able to target customers and prospects based on their data. Right? So for example, uh, who has opened a mail. If a customer has clicked a mail, have they gone on to complete a purchase? You also know if, for example, they have not opened your mail and they have gone and deleted it without reading your mail, or if they have opened it in the past but they've stopped opening your email. And this is an opportunity to actually go into different strategies for different user segments and send them. And this is all possible through a platform without too much manual effort, but it enables reaching different customers with different messages at the right time, right? And access to data as well as targeting in the third and first boxes are very related. Uh, Email is not an isolated channel, right? And that is something that needs to be factored in to your any marketing strategy. Right? So email is not an isolated channel in terms of thinking of email as independent and running email campaigns and not doing anything else. Right? So email becomes all the more powerful if uh, it is used in combination with other channels. And here is some data that that says the exact same thing, right? So businesses that use other channels in conjunction with email, right, simultaneously reported more customer engagement. Right? So engagement can be defined as somebody, as a user, for example, opening and reading your emails. Right? More new customers. So once users or readers of emails go on to complete a purchase, more website traffic. Right? So while completing a purchase, they go on to drive traffic to your website, and then not just during the email, from the email, but make sure that is repeat traffic that is coming to your websites. And of course, finally, what matters to all of us, more revenue, right? And these are not small percentages, right? These are not 5-10 percentages, but these are fairly large and significant growth. Okay, I have one question that's coming to me, and I'll just take it quickly, and then we can move on and take others later. But I have Pavan, who's has a question about sending the same mail frequently work or not? Uh, Sending the same mail, the exact same mail to the same person, as email users, intuitively we know that we'll get cheesed off. It helps as an email marketer. For example, we know a set of users. Email platforms give us that data. So a set of users who have not opened your email, right? So that's a segment that we can identify, and then send, for example, that segment of users who have not opened, send them an email which is it's a variation of what you've already sent previously. Right? For example, if you send an email with the subject line saying, "Here are new offers on," or "Here are offers on apparel and clothing," and if something hasn't opened, and if your email hasn't been opened, you can send that segment of users another email, for example, with a different theme. Essentially, the core message could remain the same, but the theme could be, for example, saying, "Here is our new clothing collection that we have." Right? So different things could interest people at different points of time, and it's good to try at least once or twice for users who have not opened their mail the first time, but not more than that. Yes, yes, and so same email, exact same content, definitely cannot be sent to the same user. Okay, so we'll now go into 3 or 4 steps right, that we've called out initially to get you started. So from the time you how do you get your email marketing rolling, right? From creating a list to sending to analytics. We've condensed this into a few simple steps and distilled a lot of these tips and advice and learnings into a few points that you can actually go in and start off. So it's I think the mix of what you'll see is it's a mix of fundamental theory as well as recommendations of practical recommendations of tools and platforms and other tips that you'll see. Right? So feel free to make use of it with all of it coming together, and you should make good email marketers too. Right? Uh, so here's the first step. Of course, is creating your audience in terms of who are your users or who's your audience that you're going to be emailing in the first place. Um, and it starts with every email marketer creating a list, first defining and creating a list. Very easy way, and a lot of us marketers often receive this spam, and I see some questions about spam, and we'll take this as well. Right? Um, we see a lot of these a lot of email marketing ourselves to say I have a list of, for example, 100 doctors, 10,000 doctors, or uh, you know 15,000 IT professionals available, or 500 CXOs available for a fee, or certain people allow you to download other email IDs or email databases, etc., etc. Right? Obviously, if they're selling it to you, they're selling it to 100 other people as well. Right? So there is also uh, that issue that if you are buying those lists, there are 100 other people who are buying those lists, and that email ID is probably already been deactivated due to all the spam. Other than that, obviously, anybody, any user that you email who hasn't opted in to receive your emails is not going to perform. And there's enough and more data to back this up to say contacts open email from known sources. They don't know you or they don't remember having signed up to your mailing list, they will ignore you. Right? And this is a very dangerous thing because your email will get deleted. You actually form a negative impression in the minds of the user itself. You also get marked as spam, and that's a very dangerous thing to happen because email servers, once users start marking you as spam, email servers start recognizing that and recognizing your IP and your domain name, email domain name, and email IDs as spam email IDs. So these then get put into mail filters. They go into Gmail filters. They go into a number of third-party mail filters. And if a large number of people then start complaining, if even legitimate mails that you send will go into the spam folder, and that actually can be very, very uh, difficult or a huge problem for businesses if that happens. Right? There is also an act called the Can Spam Act. Can Spam doesn't mean that marketers are allowed to spam, but in fact, it stands for violation of spamming. Right, so a law against spamming. So the Can Spam Act is currently it's relevant for many developed countries, largely in the West. So if you're an email marketer that is targeting, say Singapore, the US, UK, Europe, Australia, these countries are very tough with the Can Spam Act. So essentially, if a user complains that they have received email which they have not opted in to receive, as an email marketer, you can get fined. Especially if you're in their jurisdiction, you can get fined for up to $20,000, $10,000 or $20,000 per user complaint that is made. So essentially, this is something that can bankrupt a company, and companies will be very, very careful in these markets. For example, India does not have an equivalent of the Can Spam Act. Uh, and so it's largely an unregulated market. Uh, but again, for marketers themselves are becoming very careful because if they get flagged as spam, that is a lot of trouble. So, but yeah, Can Spam Act is not isn't applicable in India. Finally, of course, it's critical with all of this happening that you ask contacts for permission to be added to your mailing list. So how do you go about doing that? Right? Um, the most popular and the easiest way to do that is wherever you are getting mail signups. Right? So this could be on your website, this could be on a web landing page, etc., etc. Right? So as a web form, in exchange for signing up to your mailing list, you could offer users a number of incentives, and that's completely fine. Right? So if you have an ebook for download or a white paper for download, users are then happy to sign up. And if you tell them that you're going to be sending them weekly or monthly emails with similar content, again, that's a good way to drive signups. You'll see an example here. For example, there are forms that also say, I will give you access to the latest online marketing resources. There are newsletters which have updated online marketing news, or if there is one from TED to say here on the slide to say we have daily or weekly newsletters that are notifications of when TED talks are happening. So again, so if there is something that you're offering users, either in terms of ebook download or in terms of your newsletter, or these days e-commerce says sign up for the latest deals that we have to offer, right? And then users are happy to sign up because they feel their value. There are coupons that they get, or there are new products or new phones, for example, that are sent out, a list of new phone launches, mobile phone launches that are sent out, and users are happy to then join your email list. But within all of these, one thing that obviously you need to be careful about is uh, there is some notification on the form that says when you sign up, you're signing up to newsletter to our email database, but we will never spam you. So, and that's something that it's good to make clear to users. How else can you do it, right? So, as marketers, as sales and marketing people, or even if you're in any other function, you typically would have gone to events, right? So, at a conference, at a meeting, at a get together, right? So people that typically it's a good way to collect business cards, and either you collect them personally, or if you have a fishbowl where people can then just drop the business cards, then you're able to collect your business cards, and then it's very easy. Most email marketing platforms have that. You can either enter that information, or there are you can look up apps on Android and iOS, which are card scanners, and you can just card scan your card through those apps, and it will you can export an Excel sheet or a CSV, which you can then upload into your mailing list. That's a good way. So as long as you tell them, and this picture is a good example of that happening. So put your biz card in and get our newsletter, right? So users know that they should expect some content as well. Another way, and this is if you've got social media channels that you run on Twitter or Facebook, and most likely most businesses have are on social media these days. You can create campaigns. If you look at the example on the right here on this slide, this is what Twitter calls a Twitter card, right? And this is available to everybody who creates one, right? So you can this is not paid necessarily paid. You can run paid campaigns, but you can also run free campaigns with this, where you say you have an offer, and then or if you have any sign up or an incentive, which then users can just click the button. You see the button here that says get the playbooks, right? So we click the button, Twitter just captures their email ID, and these are native platforms, right? So where users are already logged in to their Twitter account or to their Facebook account, and these platforms then allow us to capture these email IDs directly, and then as a manager of the channel, you can export these email IDs and add them to your mailing list. Yes. So again, to summarize this, add your customer database to your mailing list. Right. Um, most and in all businesses, uh, obviously have a customer database, right? So this database could be a online database. This database could come from the billing systems in some shape or form, right? So and if there is a email ID that your store has captured or that your business has captured, then it makes it really valuable to get them onto your mailing list, right? So there are obviously online businesses by nature. Then obviously when there are account users create accounts, they typically sign in with the email ID and they're able to get email IDs. But even physical businesses from their billing systems, or these days when you sign up for loyalty program, for example, or you sign up these days, even at restaurants, they ask for your email ID very often. Right? So these are a great way of collecting these email IDs and then sending users relevant offers. And it also allows you as a business to communicate with them about what is new, if you have something interesting, and anything that the user might find useful. Right? Uh, what do you do about and this is completely okay given that they're your customers uh, in general and they've bought from you and at least you know that they're interested in your business, but obviously if the accounts are old accounts or if your customers haven't purchased in a long time, a best practice is to not email them if they're inactive for more than 6 months to 1 year. Maybe send a reminder in between that we have not seen you, we would love to have you come back. That's a great campaign as well. But if a customer is still not responsive, then it's a good idea to just drop them from your. Okay, moving on to the next step, which is now that you have an audience, uh, what do you send your audience? Right? So creating your infrastructure. So once you set up your infrastructure, uh, which largely resides on your email platform. Right? So if you look at the bunch of logos on the right of the slide, these are some of the most popular email platforms in the world globally, both for larger companies, for example, Salesforce Marketing Cloud, as well as smaller companies. Some really popular ones are MailChimp, Constant Contact, Zoho, for example. Zoho is an Indian company that's based in Chennai. But these are all world-class platforms that make email marketing really, really easy. Um, Essentially, these platforms enable you to create those emailers, right? So emailers are made up of are built in HTML, right? Which email browsers are then able to render. Now these HTML emailers are uh, have a template, of course, have a design. So there's a background uh, with images that you're able to get onto these HTML mailers, as well as what content or what copy you put on them. Right? So copy is a common term, which is also used for as text. So when I say copy, I mean the text in the email. Uh, so it allows these platforms allow you to create your emailers. They allow you to deliver your emailers, right? So how do you send them out? And they allow you to manage a mailing list. So who do you send these emailers out to? So you can add contacts through all the ways we discussed in the last step. You can they go and edit contacts. You can go and review and download data in terms of what activity you have, etc., etc. And all the other analytics that are associated with it. You can view reports. You can of who has opened your emails, who has clicked, which are there multiple segments, are there inactive segments versus active segments, and what can you do differently about these segments, right? So these are really useful data points and are very powerful to have as marketers. Also, they allow you to perform, and we'll touch upon some of these advanced functionalities a little later, but advanced functions like drip marketing, automation, A/B testing, app integrations, etc., etc. Um, and a lot of these platforms have starter accounts that are free or close to free, and you should. It's a good experience, and it'll be good learning for you to try them out as well. So once you're on the platform, most of these platforms, in fact, all of these platforms will have email templates, right? So that can get you started without even having to um, hire a designer, and a web developer to create those templates, right? Most of these templates, some of these templates work for common business needs. Obviously, if they specialized business needs, or if you're a larger company, then you can either build your own templates or even customize some of these existing templates, right? But even if you need to build your own templates, you can have these, you can then upload your own templates to these platforms. And the elements that you see that were part of any emailer or an email template will have will be copy as text, will be your logo of your business, as well as images, header, company name, or company logo, and as well as social media icons. Typically, as a best practice, if you're a business that is on social media, it's good to have links or icons of your social that link to your social media accounts, so users can go and follow you and consume and interact with you in other channels as well. As and Something that is very, very powerful about these platforms is that you can do a lot of it, a lot of tasks by yourself without the need of professionals. And when I say that, I mean if you're editing a template or if you're creating a mailer. And so, if you're adding, for example, if it's a template and you're working on it and you're adding sections with images, with some text, with some header, with a heading as well, this is something that you can do without HTML knowledge. Right? So these interfaces all have, which is in the industry is called WYSIWYG, which means what you see is what you get, which then allows users like us to be just be drag and drop and then create pretty good looking emailers. As you start creating an emailer, and this is something that I've spoken about in the past as well, is that digital today and mobile as part of digital is largely a visual medium. And you'll see that that's how you as consumers also perceive things in most cases, right? So if there are attractive visuals, that makes your email stand out, because in most emailers, anything that is unattractive, or any image that is that any email that either does not have an image or has a badly or poorly designed image, then doesn't usually work well. Where can you get your images from? The number of places, and you don't need a designer specifically to come up with images for you. Uh, as a business, um, the easiest place to start is Google image search. Right? So you search for something, and you Google throws up a bunch of images which you can use. Now, as a business, not all of those images are usable, because many of them are copyrighted and cannot be reused for commercial purposes. So, if you look at the screenshot on the right, top right, you'll see how a way to filter down images that you can reuse for commercial purposes, right? So on Google search, you then if you see a bunch of images, you can then filter them down after clicking search tools, and then you click labeled for reuse, and that will filter in only images that are have copyright open, that allow you to use them. Right? Additionally, there are websites for more professional users. There are websites that offer stock photos for free, and these are useful for smaller users who have limited needs, and that have, because most of these services again have limitations in the number of pictures you can use per day or per week. Some of these are here. You can check them out, go to them, or if you ever uh, need great images, these are places you can go to. Um, Another very common and a very widely used service is Shutterstock.com, right? So most digital marketers, most designers, etc., go to Shutterstock. Now, Shutterstock has a huge collection of images and videos as well, and but they are paid. So they make sense for businesses that have a minimum need for images on a regular basis. And their plan start at about $169, um, which is about 10 to 12,000 rupees a month as business for a fairly large number of images. So, and these are good images by professional photographers for a wide variety of needs. Right? There are a number of newer tools that allow, if you're creative and you want to try your hand at image editing, it allows you to create and go and edit images. You should check out Canva, Canva, which at canva.com, which allows you to create. It's got a huge bunch of beautiful stock photography. It allows you to overlay images, overlay text on images, and create beautiful backgrounds and fonts. And some of this you see here in a few examples that I've shown here. And Canva is free to try initially. There are paid tier subscriptions available, but as users, you can always go and try these tools out for free. Uh, Continuing on the visual track, there are two best practices. I think the two most important best practices is what I'd like to present here. Right, when you're creating your image on your emailer, there is most email platforms will allow you to change settings and will allow you to specify what is called an alt text for images, right? So alt text is what you see, and all of you all would have seen this, is when your image doesn't load on your email client, right? So if it doesn't load, you'll see an empty box. If alt text is set, you will see some text in that box which specifies what the image is about. And that is very, very useful because most email clients block images by default, including Gmail. Right? So if you are a new sender and user receives your email for the first time, the image will get blocked. Right? So if you have a large image, for example, an email, the user will not see anything. Right? They will just see an empty box unless they click load images from the sender. Right? So if users don't click that, they will continue in every email to just see an empty box. So as a best practice, it is good to put the alt text tag. So that means when they see the empty box, they also see the text as part of the empty box. So you can always specify in the text to say, click load image to view this image, or you can also give a description of the image, what is there. So the user knows what is there and they're not going to see something that they don't expect. Uh, the second best practice is that stay away from Flash and JavaScript and any other scripts. Right, most email clients block Flash and block JavaScript, and these just won't render. Something that a lot of successful email marketers do is use an animated GIF image. So this is still a static image, but they are animated GIFs, and this you can see in the slide. This is not a video, but this little gift box moving is an animated GIF, right? And they look beautiful in emails, and they're very, very effective. Uh, as long as it's not too much animation, it is just a subtle animation that you're using. The third uh, is goes back to emails not displaying the entire image. So that means, and you've seen some of these emails, and I receive them quite often from, say, an ICICI bank or an HDFC bank or any other banks, where the whole email is just an image, right? And if I don't load the image, I don't see a single thing on my screen. That's a very, very bad practice. So don't have one large image in your email where text is part of the image. Don't have that, but instead break it up into text and different images. Optimize for mobile. This is very, very important. Most emails, a majority of emails today, get read on mobile. And if you don't test, so most templates need to be designed to be mobile responsive. What we call in the industry is mobile responsive. So if it needs to look good on desktop, but then when it's rendered on a mobile device, it needs to be optimized for mobile as well. Right? So if you look at the example here on a desktop, on the left pane, you'll see this email has got text on the left, image on the right, a number of CTA buttons. Then there are large images, there are very wide text and image columns, and obviously the same thing doesn't work on mobile, right? Because otherwise you will end up with an emailer that you will have to keep moving left and right to see the whole emailer, right? And nobody wants to do that. So if you see the same email when it's mobile responsive on a mobile phone, it then the text and image just wrap around each other. So the image moves on top, the text moves to the bottom. Same with the second section of the mail, where again the image moves. The in this case, the text moves over the image, above the image, and there is a button right there that doesn't shrink in size. Mobile phones, of course, have smaller screen sizes, but we need to make sure most emails have a button, what we call a call to action button, which needs to be large enough for users to click on. If it's too small, it just misses its purpose, right? And users are not going to click and or not going to expand your email. So text on mobile phones needs to be at a readable size. Buttons need to be large enough and easily clickable. Aspect ratio of images. Very often on mobile phones, we see images that are poorly optimized on for mobile, in which cases they stretch. So you see images that are in very odd shapes and they end up looking very bad, and that's a bad reflection on a brand. And also, users typically don't tend to perform very well on those images. Got it. Again, as part of building your emailer, once you have your visuals in place, then you move to copy, right? Interesting stat is that the average email is read for 51 seconds, and this is something that you would have seen as well, that you as an email user, especially on your mobile phone, don't tend to read each and every sentence or each and every word on the email, right? So typically you scan the subject line, you scan the top, the image, as well as a few headlines, a few words in the headlines, and then you decide whether you want to read it further or you close it, right? And that just means emails need to be kept really, really short. And so, users in a screen, anything that is in the first frame of the screen is called above the fold. And if users need to scroll, and this is a term that's used commonly in digital marketing, is if you need to scroll to the next screen, that means your copy is below the fold. Um, Keep your emails short, as crisp as much as possible above the fold. Make your important points right at the beginning, assuming and knowing that very few users are actually going to scroll to the middle or the end of the email to read what you actually mean. Right? Keep your headlines short and catchy. Most things depend on, if there are headlines that users like, then that interests them to read the entire email. Use numbers and action words, things like top 5 tips, best practices, do this, this is what you gain. Because if they're long and headlines that are confusing, then users are not going to go further. Again, CTA, this is a point we spoke about, have a call to action so users know what is expected of them. You don't want to send them a long email at the end of which they don't know what's required, right? So if you have a CTA that says read this entire article, or claim your discount, or sign up for the bonus, or anything of that, it needs to be clearly marked out. The third, coming to the third point, and we have 4 points. And now that we've got our mail created, content done, and email sent, um, a really important tool that email marketers are able to use is that of A/B testing. Now, when I say A/B testing, some of you might have heard of, is I test two variants of the same email to decide what works better, right? And because email as a medium is really powerful and is data rich, it allows marketers to understand what works and what doesn't work. So think of it as one email, right? Like we, this is an example we spoke of at the beginning. So one email that says, here is a new, here are discounts on uh, clothing range, and the other email, which is essentially the same content, but it has a subject line that says, uh, uh, here is launching a new summer collection, spring summer collection, right? So essentially, there is one email as a theme which talks about discounts, and the other that talks about a new updated clothing collection, right? So these are things that can be tested. So you can set it up at the same time. A bunch of users receive the first copy, first variant, a bunch of users receive the second variant, and you know from data that data will tell you how they've performed, right? You can experiment with things from like the subject line, like what we did just now, to the from name, to content in the email, to when you're sending it. If you want to send one in the daytime to one in the evening, how does it perform? Whether CTA variations, etc., etc. Essentially, a huge number of variables that you can change in each of these variants and test them out, right? And you can then also, these platforms allow A/B testing. You can set that what percentage of my audience will receive test emails. So a good number is like a 10 to 20% of your audiences receive test emails, and then based on a winning criteria, it can be either opens or clicks. You can then specify which variant is the winner, and the rest 80% of your audience, for example, will then receive the winner, right? And that will also contribute to your learning and your best practices as you set about creating your future email campaigns. Uh, this is something that, again, as you go about planning for and executing your email campaigns, I would urge you to be organized in terms of having a content calendar, right? A content calendar, and this is an example that I've just put together, is it gives you the visibility into what seasons are there. For example, that if there is a Christmas New Year season coming up, if there is a Diwali season coming up, if there are other festivals, um, and what email campaigns can you run against each of them, right? If there are product launches, if there are product updates, if there are new collections that you're launching, if there are promotions that you're putting out, it's easy to put all of them into a calendar fashion by day or by week, and then also put in your email, what email campaign needs to go out against all of them. As a resource, I've just also linked to a template, that's a free templates that's available for an email content calendar. Please feel free to use this. Okay, and as digital marketers overall, we are very data driven, right? So we let numbers tell us whether we're successful or not. And here are the top five metrics that every email marketer should be thorough with and should leverage, right? So the first one being open rate. Now the open rate is just, and I've given a formula for each of these metrics and what they actually mean. So open rate is the number of emails that have opened upon the number of emails that have been delivered, right? So this tells you whether users are interested in even opening your email, or they just get ignored, and these are inactive users completely, right? It also tells you, for example, that subject line, which subject line worked better. Are my users interested in discounts, or are they interested in new collections? um, it also gives, so the second metric is a CTR, which is commonly known as CTR, which is the click through rate. So the click through rate is how many clicks do you see within an email upon the number of opens. So if somebody opens your mail and does not click after that to any of to your web page or to your landing page or to your offer or newsletter or anything else, that means the click through is zero there, right? So the click through is very important because it tells you that once a user opens your email, are they even interested in that content? Then next is the conversion rate, and as marketers, this is something that we keep, which is the bottom of the funnel, and that we need to have our eyes constantly on, is how effective, how many conversions. Now, when I mean conversions, I could mean signups, to a mailing list. I could mean account signups. I could mean purchases. If I'm in e-commerce, I could mean orders. I could mean app downloads, right, as well. How many signups am I driving through my email? Or how many conversions I'm driving through my email? The fourth metric is what I'm calling out is the bounce rate. The bounce rate, which means that if you send an email and it doesn't reach your email database, right, it bounces back. Either if the mailbox is full, if it's an inactive ID, if it is a non-existent ID, and a bounce rate tells you how healthy your email database is. The fifth one, and it's that's very important, is your subscriber growth rate. So how much are you growing your audience on a regular basis? And it's important because creating an email list is not a one-time effort, right? You need to maintain an email list, and it's an important stat that around 25% of a list typically over a year becomes obsolete, right? The email IDs degrade, so people have either moved on to new jobs, or they have changed email IDs, or a bunch of other reasons as well, right? That tells you how your audience is growing. At the end of it, I think the bottom line is whatever we do, we should, and digital mediums give us that freedom, is to get into it, and get into email marketing, try it, uh, join a free platform, create an emailer, create a small email list of people you know, and start this off, right? And while you do it, test, uh, what is working well or what is working better, and then use those learnings to improve upon your execution the next time. So that's all I have, guys. Thanks for being a wonderful audience. I'm happy to spend the next 5 minutes taking questions. So we already have, while you think of questions, we already have a few questions coming in. Um, Correct. So there's one question from Ganesh, where Ganesh asks, in mobile optimization, the different device sizes, of course, right? So your email could be read by somebody on desktop, large screen versus laptop, mid-size screen, could be read on an iPad, which is smaller than that, and also could be read on a mobile phone. Again, a mobile phone, there is no standard size. It could be iPhone 6 Plus, which is at 6 inches, and it could, or it over 6 inches, and or it could be on a smaller 5 inch phone as well, or a 4 inch phone. Right? So how do images set? Right. So there are mobile. So image optimization, or creating mobile responsiveness, is something that a matter of a few settings, and here is where you need to make sure that the template itself is mobile responsive. So if you have a few HTML settings that you can set in the template, some templates are naturally mobile responsive, but other templates, you might need somebody with a bit of HTML knowledge to come and just test and make sure it's mobile responsive. Now, once it's mobile responsive, then on any device, device screen size, it's then tested to work well. And then typically these are then tested once every template is just tested as a one-time effort. Then you can be sure that the next time you send emails, everything that you do is then mobile responsive. There's another question that Surya Teja had asked, which about um, emails. Like so many, we want so many job portal emails, right? We are not interested at all. How can we attract those kind of people? If I understand the question right, it's about building an email list, and using and seeing emails. If you have not opted out, like job portals, continuously they send emails, even if you're not looking for a job, or very often even after you've changed jobs, right? So that's an example of some poor email marketing. You'll see that often if you've just changed jobs, and Naukri.com is still sending you some old emails about some old job openings that you're not interested in, very often you quickly want to sign out from there, right? So that's an important learning. Do you offer any courses on this, Raghav? Yes, Raghav, we do. Email marketing is a smaller topic. We also starting off with in the next few weeks. We're starting off with a course on uh, mobile marketing. So, as mobile marketing, email is one of the topics which we'll go into greater depth in. But we'll also go into a bunch of other topics in the mobile space that everybody needs to know. Now, this is a space that's booming. And if you see every startup or every company there that is there today, first builds a mobile app. Everybody's trying to promote their mobile app. So how can you as a marketer, or how can you as even as a sales or in any other function, use that and learn to succeed in the space. Um, how to face criticism on social media marketing. It isn't very relevant to this topic, so I'll leave it at that. I will cover social media on mobile, specifically for mobile, in the course itself, but it isn't relevant to what we are, or the topic today. Would you recommend, please recommend free or very cost-effective email marketing platform for a startup? Vikram, you can look at any of the ones that are on the slide. I've mentioned a few names on the slide. All of them are good. All of them work for startups as well. They're very popular with startups. How to create A/B testing for a mail, Saurabh. Saurabh, A/B testing is normally a function that is it is impossible, or it's not easy to do it from Gmail if you're sending. But if you're sending from a mail platform like say Mailchimp or any of the other mail platforms, A/B testing is then part of the feature that is offered there, and that you can just easily set up through their interface. You don't have to do anything specific.